Hello, my name is John Brink and we are podcasting on the Brink from the capital of Northern BC, Prince George. An absolute fabulous day in Prince George, a beautiful sunny day, still a little bit of winter and a little bit of snow in the background, but it's absolutely fabulous, a fabulous day. I have a special guest today and her name is Nicole Currie. Welcome to the show, Nicole.
Thank you so much, John.
So, you've been here for a long time in Prince George.
I was born and raised here.
You're one of the half a dozen. No, I'm just joking. Prince George, for our guests, and we have people watching from all over the world. Prince George is about 700-800 kilometers north of Vancouver. It's in the center of British Columbia. From north, south, east, west, it's in the center. Mm-hmm. Now, the mayor of Vanderhoof would say, no, it's Vanderhoof. Well, we don't argue about it, but it's close. And an absolute beautiful, beautiful province.
It is.
So tell me a little bit about your background. So you were born in Prince George.
I was born and raised here, lived all my life. My father was a longtime city worker here. He worked 33 years for the city doing snow removal. And he was an older father, so I think that's where I learned my compassion and understanding with seniors. And he was very proud of his work and had 33 years at the city with never a sick day.
What a dedication, the older generation in particular, you know.
That's right, that old work ethic, right?
That work ethic,
yes.
Right? So, okay. And so he worked for the city of Prince George, then retired.
That's right, and he met my mom. They had myself and my sister. We were 6 years apart. I was the younger child.
Okay.
And we spent our lives here until they passed away in 2006.
In 2006. Mm-hmm. Where did you live then, or where did they live? In which area of town?
So we lived over Central. You know where the Integris Credit Union is?
Yeah.
Yep, just behind there.
Oh, right
and
there.
So that's where I did the bulk of my growing up.
Okay, yeah.
On the corner of that, listening to the traffic whiz by Fifth Avenue. Yeah, that was where I was raised.
Yeah, and then you went to school there? And
I went to school at St. Mary's and then graduated at O'Grady.
Okay, and then did you go beyond that into college or anything else?
I did. Actually, I went to CNC, and at the time, online booking, there wasn't a lot of online booking for holidays.
Yeah.
So I actually had went to school to become a travel agent back then when they still had travel agencies.
Wow.
And I completed that and never worked a day in that field ever. So.
Oh my God, why not?
Well, I started a job at Esther's Inn, and I was a waitress and caterer there, and I only got that job because my maiden name was Schuster Sakamoto, and the manager...
What was it?
Schuster Sakamoto.
Oh, where does that come from?
My mom was German and my dad was Japanese.
Oh my goodness.
So it was a hyphenated name.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the manager there was German, and she seen Schuster on my resume, and that's the only reason I got shortlisted. And I got hired from there. And believe it or not, I had a regular customer that would come in all the time and was very insistent that I meet his wife, who was worked for the Canadian National Institute of the Blind.
Okay.
So I was just a young kid out of school. I'd finished college. I didn't really know what I was going to do. There wasn't a lot of employment out for travel agents at that time. And so I started volunteering.
What year would it have been approximately? I'm not trying to get
I would have been
age,
about
but
17, 18.
Yeah. No, what age, what year was that? What year was it?
Oh, that would have been 96, 97.
96, 97, yeah.
So it was just... online travel was really starting to take off, and the commissions were being cut from the travel agents.
Everything started to change.
It did, really, and they told us actually at the tail end of our course that this is what was coming, and I realized, boy, oh boy, I picked the wrong position for the future here.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I started volunteering at the CNIB, and I stayed there until an admin job opened up. And I was just a young kid with not a lot of experience, just what I had learned there, and I got the job.
CNIB is?
The Canadian National Institute of the Blind.
just for our guest.
Yes, yeah.
So that's, and so you got a job there.
And that started my love with wanting to help people in need.
Yeah.
And from there, I did a short stint at Revenue Canada back then. And I knew fairly quickly that was not my calling. You know, my dad said it's an amazing job. It's got the benefits. It's got this. And I said,
You like the part that is government,
yes,
right?
Yes.
Because you start there, you never leave.
That's right.
Yeah.
And he's thinking job security and the future and all of that.
Yeah. Good thought, though.
It was,
Yeah.
you know, and but I just knew it wasn't for me. I had no fulfillment there, and I knew I wanted more. So I ended up getting married and having 2 sons.
Okay.
And so I stayed at home.
What are the names?
My oldest is Ori. And
Ori?
Ori, Orry.
Oh, that's different.
It is, yeah.
Where does that come from?
Believe it or not, don't laugh. It actually comes from one of my mom's favorite movies that we watched it probably twice a year on TV, and it was from the show North and South with Patrick Swayze, and Patrick Swayze's character was named Ori Main, and I loved that name. And
Was he the dancer, Patrick
that's
Swayze?
the dancer from Dirty Dancing.
Dirty Dancing.
That's right, yeah.
And him and his wife, he passed away far too young.
He
didn't
did, yeah.
Very, very tragic. But the movie is still, even now, very popular, right?
It sure is. And that was we were big Patrick Swayze fans in our household.
Right.
And it was just a unique name, and I liked that. And so that's where his name came from.
That's one son. How about the other?
They're 2 years apart.
I'm scared to ask. No,
the other one's not too bad, Tristan, so it wasn't too bad.
That's good. Yeah.
Yes,
okay.
and so yeah, they're 2 years apart. And so
How old are they now?
They are 21 and 19.
Wow.
Yes.
Can you imagine how quickly it goes?
It went in the blink of an eye. I remember toddlers' age was so hard. And then people would say, before you know it, they're going to be making their own breakfast and cereal and toast. And I thought, that day is never going to come.
And before you know it, they're
graduated.
Gonna get married and they're gonna
Right.
have kids, and
That's...
because I got 2 daughters, and the one is 45, the other in that area, and the other one is about 50, and it just, I still remember like yesterday going up the elevator in the hospital to when they were born, so that's how quickly it goes.
It
and
sure
you know
does.
that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And your husband, does he work?
He's a carpenter in town. He was also, he's done most of his life here in Prince George.
Okay.
And
What's his name?
his name is John.
Oh, that's a good name.
Yeah, good, strong, sturdy name. But yeah, he's been in carpentry as long as I've known him. Been with the same company for over 20 years.
Yeah.
And he reminds me a lot of my dad.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, good. And so now you were at CNIB, and then what happened then?
I basically, once I went on to Revenue Canada, and I had my first son, I went on my maternity leave, and we decided I would be a stay-at-home mom.
Yeah.
So I was doing the mom thing, and once they were in school, volunteering at the school and being a teacher helper.
Yeah.
And then I had a friend that actually from Esther's Inn that knocked on my door one day and said, "We need help at respiratory. Will you come and meet my boss?"
Yeah.
So that was my step back into the workforce. They were
Yeah.
willing to work when the kids were in school.
Yeah.
So I started there. And then I sort of got found from each place from there. One thing led into another opportunity. And I went into the industrial world for a while. I'm adventurous. I wanted to give that a try. And I did a little stint out there. But, I really didn't like the travel over the bridge, especially with the time pinch to get kids from school.
Yeah. So
I knew that might not be long term.
Right.
But it was an enjoyable period. And I from there got found by, believe it or not, my oldest boy that played hockey. He had a friend, and their parents contacted me looking for an assistant and an administrator to help them out.
Okay.
And it was really close to the kids' school. Like it was a good fit.
Fitted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I made the move. And I worked with them for about 3 years until they sold their company.
Okay.
And then I said to my husband, John, I said, wow, this is the first time, I might be able to take the summer off before I go back into the workforce and
Right.
just think about what I want to do. And,
Yeah.
and sure enough, he got hurt.
Yeah.
He got hurt on the job, and bills need to be paid.
Yeah.
And I thought, I don't want to take a chance. I better start looking.
Yeah.
And I happened to see the Prince George Council of Seniors Meals on Wheels coordinator on Facebook.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, I'll drop off a resume there.
Yeah.
They called me before I got home, and I interviewed the next day, and I was hired before I left the parking lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the rest was history. I started the following Monday.
How long ago was that, Nicole?
4.5 years ago now.
4.5 years ago. And was that at the beginning of when they started Meals on Wheels?
Meals on Wheels has been around in the city since 2000.
Yeah.
And I didn't,
Nearly
I had
20
heard
years.
about it.
I had not heard about it.
Yeah, well, I had only heard about it when one of my in-laws was out of the hospital and needed Meals on Wheels. And I was actually the one that had called them and set it up.
Yeah.
Not thinking anything of it past that service. It was amazing. Actually, even when I had my interview with the Council of Seniors, I failed the first question, which was, what is Meals on Wheels? So I said, well, it's, healthy meals for seniors in need, if they have a surgery or something like that.
That was a good one.
I thought so, but it's actually, that is not the case.
So did he then say, we're done, go home now?
No, they called me on it and got me flustered right off the bat. And I was like, but I didn't realize it was for people that might need post-op surgery, people coming out of the hospital. It could be people with special needs, people that are getting back out into the community and trying to develop good and healthy life skills.
Yeah.
We've had stints with that, helping people to show them what healthy meals are.
Yeah.
But our program is mainly catered to seniors, as I might have shared with you already. But I just had no idea the scale of it and the need for it until I started started in the program and began my learning curve.
So when they started it 20 years ago, in 2000 or somewhere about that, was it then part of the Prince George Council of Seniors?
Yes.
Part of that organization?
That's right.
Yeah, and it became then kind of a subsidiary of it?
Well, what happened back then, I believe they only had 6 clients when they started. It was a very small program.
Right.
And when I stepped into the program, we had 33 clients at the time.
Yeah.
And it is changing and adjusting all the time, because I listen to what my seniors are telling me, or at least I try to do my best.
Right.
And to adjust to their needs. And it's not just black and white. A lot of people just think it's black and white. But I want the experience to be positive for seniors. And there's not a lot of perks if you're stuck in a home and you don't get any visitors or you don't have family.
Yeah.
So I like food.
Lonely.
That's right. So I like them to be able to call and have time to chat with them, see how they're doing, and then listen to their dietary needs on top of it, because not everybody likes the exact same food, right?
No.
And some people have allergies and that kind of thing
All
that
of
we
that,
have to work around.
Yeah.
So it's been interesting and challenging, learning from sometimes week to week, month to month, with the changes that are coming up.
When you came on board, you said you had 33 or 6?
33 when I came on board.
Right.
Yes.
And then the staff that is supporting you, a lot of them are volunteers, right?
All of our drivers are volunteers.
Yeah.
That's right.
The drivers are the people that deliver the food from
our kitchen, yes.
Your kitchen to wherever they are, which is mainly in downtown Prince George.
Yes.
General area of Prince George.
That's right.
Greater Prince George.
We do the downtown area, and then about 2.5 years ago or so, maybe a little longer now, we developed a route out in North Nechako 3 days a week, because they were a missed area between us and the Heart Highways Meal on Wheels program.
Yeah.
So we did try to bridge a little gap there.
So how far up the North Nechako? To the foothills?
We go all the way to the end.
To the very end.
To the very end.
Yeah.
We just don't
because
go up
the
the hill.
houses are further and further
They
apart
are.
there.
That's right. Yes.
Yeah, but it's an easy area. And then I believe I also talked to you already when I was visiting your kitchen and your facility that you kind of contemplating, or your group is contemplating, now College Heights, which is for those of us, for the people that are watching, just to put it into perspective, Prince George is a city in the center of British Columbia, and I usually call it the capital because it pretty much is the northern capital. Has about plus or minus 80,000 people,
Right.
and a substantial portion of them live in the greater area that we talked about, where we are sitting right now. And if you look behind us, this is downtown Prince George, and then College Heights would be to the west of us, and a couple of kilometers, but it's climbing up a hill, and then it can be fairly busy there through the traffic because two major highways, 97 and 16, cross each other. So it's a whole little bit of a different world for your perspective in terms of delivery of meals to that particular area.
That's right.
Is that what it is?
That's right. We would need, because it's quite a large area and very spread out, we would have to look for a kitchen that would be much closer to that area than the current area
that would
we're
be
at
the
to meet our timelines for delivery. Yeah. Unfortunately, since I've started, I kept a list of people that would call from College Heights, and just to kind of keep track of the need up there, and there is a need. Unfortunately, I have to get this program kind of caught up and more under control with no wait lists before we can look at that, but that is very much on our radar, and I really have hope that we'll be able to pull something off in the next year or so. We really have a vision to be able to serve all of Prince George clients, whether it's our Meals on Wheels program or the Heart Highway, that serves, it's an amazing program up there that serves the Heart Highway residents.
Right.
Yeah, so that is definitely a goal for us.
So the key now is that you are the coordinator, you are working with volunteers, and then how many clients do you have now?
Currently, we have 110 clients.
Okay.
And we have a wait list. I checked today, we're up to 15 now on the wait list. They just trickle in every day. So in order to be able to add more clients into the program, we would need to be able to add another route, to each day in order to be able to do that. Okay. And in order to do that, then we need the manpower, the volunteers behind that.
Right. So the thing you need, how many are on the waiting list, you say?
15.
15. So, and that is just the lower area, and then, so, correct me if I'm wrong, then really what we are doing, you and me and your organization and us, is kind of making this much more public in terms of why are we doing this and why is it so important, and then what kind of cost is involved, and to make sure that the meals that you prepare are their main meal, mainly, that they get between 11 and 12. It is their main meal
of the day.
For the day, and it cost, from a cost perspective, of very balanced meals that are checked out by other people to make sure that it, by government.
That's right.
You prepare it, manage it, and deliver it, and the cost is about $6 per meal.
They're $8.50 per meal right now.
$8.50?
$8.50, yes.
And what you hope to recover is $180, is $6 per meal.
If we average it on a month that has the most days, and it's approximately $180 per month for a client if they want one meal Monday through Friday.
Okay.
That's what it averages out to.
Yeah, and that's 5 days a week.
That's right. Unfortunately, we don't have any service on the weekend.
Yeah.
So they're often left to fend for themselves on the weekend, which is sad. But
What would be the objective, to do that on the weekends as well?
in an ideal world, that would be wonderful. But right now, we have a hard enough time maintaining drivers just with the Monday through Friday.
Right.
And then with summertime, we see a lot more drivers take time off with holidays and that sort of thing. I think it would be hard unless we... I don't actually know how we could pull that off. We would need some dedicated weekend teams to do it, as well as staff, because you do need staff in case drivers call in, or if they have issues out in the fields and maybe they can't find something, or something is wrong when they show up to a client's house.
So ideal for you right now is to find volunteers that would be volunteering to drive and be available even on a fill-in basis, so that if somebody says he can't make it, that you can pick up the phone and say, hey Charlie, blah, 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 or whatever the person may be, can you step in?
That's right.
And that's what you're looking for one. The other one that you're looking for is ideally find from a funding perspective, and that is our objective working with you, is saying, and the purpose of this podcast is to say, we want to find 100 commitments to 1 month pay of the $180, which would mean $18,000. If we can find that, and if that, as a result of our podcast, we can raise that, then that would be an accomplishment and a start to continuity. And so what I would say is that for the average individual, after we finish this podcast and talk a little bit about more the examples of why we are doing this, then that would be contributing $180.
That's right.
Our company will donate $1,800 at 10 for 1 month. Wow. To start. And so my challenge would be to other companies to do the same, do 10, before we are done, and other individuals. Now, so I've already made that commitment. So if we find other people that right after this podcast, they're doing the podcast, they will pick up the phone and say, or go online and saying, I want to donate, how do I do it? So you tell them how we do that.
Well, they're welcome to drop by our center. We've just moved into a nice, much bigger office in order to be able to provide more services to seniors. So we'd welcome them to come check it out. Right. And if not, they're welcome to call in. We do e-transfers, so that's probably the easiest way online for them to do.
Okay, so how do we give them the information so they know what to do? Maybe just repeat the phone number.
Sure, our number is 250-564-5888, so 5888.
Okay, 250?
564-5888.
88.
That's right.
And then if they do it online, how do they contact the online?
So they could send an e-transfer to my email address. It's nicole.pgcos@gmail.com.
Okay, say it once more.
Nicole, so Nicole .pgcos, and that's for Prince George Council of Seniors, @gmail.com.
At email.com. Okay. So our objective now is to raise 100 or get 100 commitments. And then, but that's an ongoing issue, right? So that, struggling to get enough. And so you're more or less looking also for people that will adopt a senior in the sense of supporting the Meals on Wheels, right? For that individual, or for a individual if there is no name but a person.
That's right. I mean, that would just be amazing. We developed the Adopt a Senior program. It was actually accidental. I had been out to see a new client and they had called ahead, and I knew it was going into a weekend, and they didn't have a lot of food. So I called over to the seniors center on Brunswick, which is our kitchen, and it was sort of after hours, but I just said, hey, like, I've got this couple, do you have anything I could take them? And he prepared me a couple meals and some extras in there for them because he knew they were going into the weekend. And when I went there, their house was bare, their cupboards were bare, their counters were bare, John. Like, it was, I've never seen anything like it. And so I walked in, and I always, like, I usually will kind of go down on the floor or whatever, leave them sitting and just try to make them feel as comfortable as possible. But when I started to open up the food, there's just this, like, a smaller container of soup. And I asked the husband, I said, would you like me to open this for you? Because I could tell he would have had issues trying to even open the container. And he said yes, and I opened it, and John, he just grabbed it with both hands and just drank it right back.
Yeah.
Just drank it, no spoon, no nothing, just like that. And his wife just wept in the chair. Like, we were sitting kind of like this, and she wept in the chair across from him. And I hugged her, and I told her it was going to be okay, and that we were going to look after her, and it was, you know, she didn't have to be sad anymore. And she wept the whole time I was there. I could make out thank yous, and she just couldn't believe it. So I went home, and, like, actually, when I got out to my car, I couldn't even drive away right away. My legs were just, I was just shaking. And I got home, and I felt very frustrated with that. Like, how can that even be a possibility for a senior, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
And so I put a post on Facebook, just my personal page, just saying, you know, please don't ignore me. Like, we're all going to be here someday. Like, all my friends that are my age, don't just go, Nicole's posting another thing about seniors. Like, please listen. Yeah. And we're all going to be there one day. But how is this right? A little tiny bowl of Cheerios they had that day. Yeah. And that was going to feed the two of them for the day. Yeah. They had nothing else left in their house.
No.
And so I had a friend reach out that works at Northern Health. And she says, like, oh my gosh, what can we do to help? Like, I need to do an employee challenge where I work. What can I do? And it just took off from there. Old co-workers from the industrial area, friends, family, they just started reaching out. So I took the cost of a month of meals, and I said, like, if you're willing to pay for a month of meals, like, we can do it like an adopt a grandparent or an adopt a senior. Yeah. And that's how that took off. Yeah. And it spread like wildfire. It was over Facebook, and we got a great amount of funding to start us off. But there's such a need out there. Yeah. It blew my mind away. And so, you know, we were able to feed that lovely couple until the day they both passed away. And to me, we did something good there, right? It's sad that they're no longer with us. Yeah. But I'll never get her crying out of my mind. I'll never unsee that and seeing someone so hungry. Yeah. And it broke my heart. Yeah. So that's why this, like, I can't thank you enough for you know, allowing us a platform to share this with people. I
think it's very important.
And I'm just honored for it. Thank you, because there's so many clients out there, or seniors that aren't even my clients yet. You know, we might get a call where we had someone who had no food for the weekend and was sharing their meal with their animal was eating their pet food. Yeah. Because they had nothing. And I get that call at 7 a.m, and, you know, I'm not even supposed to answer the phone, but I'm like, who's power calling at 7 a.m? Yeah. Something must be wrong. Yeah. And I heard that, and I said, okay, give me 2 hours to figure this out. We will have something there. Yeah. You know, and that will never happen again. Like, we don't want anybody to go hungry. Even if I don't have the funds, I'll figure it out later, kind of a thing. Yeah. I don't think anybody should have to go hungry.
Yeah, and we want to do more of that, and there's a lot of people that feel like you do, you know, and as I do about it, and saying, how can we put something together? Not that you already started the program now, but we have to get in place is the funding of it, and there are people that are willing to donate on an ongoing basis $180. Mm-hmm. But first we want to raise the 100 at $180, and this podcast will help us. That's the goal of doing that, and we already made the first step, so we already got 10. So
Thank you so much.
then from there on in, then we have to stay in touch and create a vehicle that will keep looking at how can we further increase that and more people become part of it. Right?
That's right, yes. And that's the one thing, like we are very blessed. We've had, since the last campaign, when it first went out on Facebook there, we have had 2 steady donors that have been paying for 2 seniors in town to have meals since that came out.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that is gold to me, just having 2 people who will do that. So something like this, like I just can't thank you enough already.
No.
It is, it's so powerful, the generosity, and we really do have the most beautiful community.
We do. And a lot of people don't know, as you said earlier, that until you really became involved, you didn't fully appreciate how bad it is in some of these cases.
That's right.
And, and then it becomes then a question of how do we bring other people on board that feel the same and that can be helpful and want to be helpful,
That's
right?
right.
And, and then how to continue that, because as you said earlier, you got 110, you got 15 on the waiting list, but also College Heights should be part of this.
That's right.
And, so that's going to be the critical part. Give me some other examples of, some of the people. I know it myself, I've been without food. When I first came here from Holland, I had no money, couldn't speak the language, didn't know a soul, didn't have a job. I was promised a job, but didn't have any money. For 10 days I had nothing to eat and stood in front of the Salvation Army and was too proud to ask. So I know, and I was born in 1945, and still, even then at 5 years old, I remember even still today, we had nothing to eat and no heat, and especially not during the hunger winter of 1944-45 there. I was 5 and my sister was 1 year older, my brother 2 years older, and every day we would go with a gunny sack into the railroad yards to pick up anything edible or burnable. And the reason that adults didn't do it, because they would get shot. Wow. With the kids that, they would put them one, but, but even still I remember well the feeling of hunger.
Hungry belly, right? You never forget that.
You never forget it.
That's right.
And the same is cold and anxiety, and subsequently PTSD and the inner child and all the other things that are affected by it, so.
That's right.
But I think there's lots of people that want to be helpful, and so the infrastructure is in place, and I had in the location that you have, I know well because I came in 1965. That was the library.
That's right, the old library.
Yeah, that was the library, and it's a beautiful building, and so I visited there with you, and very, very well organized. It is. Is it a senior home, or how do they call that?
It's a seniors activity center. So seniors there's bridge, they have dances, they're welcome for lunch daily through there. They have special events, especially, maybe Valentine's Day dances, that kind of things. Yeah. So it's more of an activity center. They can do their lawn bowling and all sorts of stuff. So
I was amazed. There were about 20 or 30 people there, and they were playing cards and and we kind of wandered around, and they just kind of ignored us, and then we went through the kitchen and I did all that kind of stuff.
That's right, yeah.
Beautiful facility. So that's where the kitchen is. Then the next thing is we have to get the contributors of the $180 or to, what is that called?
Adopt a senior.
Adoptive senior program. So we're gonna have to get people involved in the Adopt a Senior. Is there an age to a senior?
Well, typically it's 65 and over.
Okay.
But if I would probably, I assess every situation on its own. But even if it wasn't, money through donors, I myself would never let anybody go hungry.
No,
I could not go home.
I wouldn't either.
And be okay to go and eat my supper and sleep in my warm bed knowing that.
No.
And we've had a lot of times where people have called after hours. The kitchen is closed.
Yeah.
And a lot of them are hospital releases.
Yeah.
I've been in the hospital for 3 months. I'm home and I don't have any food.
Yeah.
And it's a Friday, and I've already been there an hour after my time, and and I talk to my manager. I say, kitchen's closed. Like, go find them something. You drop it off. You get it done.
Yeah.
So I'll say, do you want like a Tim Hortons bun and sandwich? You get to pick today, and take them something.
I kind of thought I see it even up to 102.
For
the adopted senior.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Anything really, Basically, if there's a need, I would say 99% of our clients are over 60.
Yeah.
Or people with disabilities that need the service, right?
Or for circumstances left the hospital.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the profile, and it's a mixture of male and female, obviously. And then, the other part about it is that it's a very important part of your group. You have volunteers helping you in preparing the meals.
We have, mainly right now, we have 2 staff members at the kitchen.
Okay.
And then if they need some help, they'll reach out. They've got a couple other staff, or myself, I step in and help. We do whatever needs to get done.
And you start doing that at about 10 o'clock, and then you start delivering the meals at...
That they start going out the door about 20 to 11.
Yeah.
And I try to stagger the times when they all pick them up. We try to
now,
run it.
Now, when I was there was a drive-through too. We run it out the side door. We started that during COVID. Okay.
We just felt it was best to, in the old days, the volunteers...
Seems to be very efficient too, right?
It's working, They used to like to come in and they'd all kind of visit with each other at the door while they waited. So unfortunately, that part's kind of taken away. But they do sometimes, if it's nice, stand outside their cars and get caught up.
But it's efficient.
Yeah, right? we try, as the program's gotten bigger and bigger, we've had to, come up with ideas so that we have no lost time.
So, and then... You have volunteers that deliver the meals.
Right. We currently have over 50 volunteers.
50 volunteers.
50 volunteers. And you go, Nicole, how could you possibly need more? And I sometimes feel like a bit of a hog with them. But we have maybe 30 core weekly drivers that are committed to driving, once a week, every Monday, and they'll come every Monday. And the rest are all our backup drivers, our fill-in drivers.
Do they make one delivery, or do they make more than one?
Oh, they make lots. My core group, they know the town really well, and they're really efficient out there. So a lot of them will even do 2 routes. Yeah. So a route can go depending on the team that's delivering, because I have to listen to what the volunteer needs.
Yeah.
If it's a work person that's working and it's like I have 1 hour for lunch, I might only give them 4 deliveries close to their workplace. Yeah. So, but my other drivers, on average it can be 10, 12 deliveries. Yeah. If it's a free meal day, we can get into the 20s, and that means I have to call in another set of drivers. Yeah. To help them out.
So, and some of them have been with you for a long time, like Calvin Bassey. Calvin Bassey and I were newbies together. Yeah. We started sort of around the same time, so he kind of had to go through all the painful learning curves that I had to learn, and he was just a great sport with it. And since then, when we did the Adopt a Senior, his son owns Northside Auto there off of First Avenue, right. And his son heard about it and right away phoned me up, Nicole. Yeah, let's adopt some seniors, and they were one of our early sponsors and continue to be consistent. Whenever we need anything, I can reach out to them, which is amazing. And then relationships develop, right, with the seniors that already are looking forward to them. It's virtually predictable, right?
It is. My drivers, especially the ones that have been doing this a long time, they get to know their clients and their stops over time.
Are these couples in some cases, or mainly single individuals?
For clients, you mean? Yeah, we have both.
Yeah,
both. It's sort of sad, but you know what? I often have I've noticed over the years, is if it's a couple, it's the wife that calls.
Yeah.
I go in, and the husbands usually can give me, like, they give me a little bit of pushback. They want their wife's cooking. They don't they don't want Meals on Wheels coming in.
Yeah.
And eventually, we get them on board and everything's great. And I find out actually that the wife was terminal. And these lovely women are making sure that their husbands are set up and give them time to adjust to the program before they go. And I've noticed that's been a lot of consistencies there. And I thought, oh, I love them. Right to the bitter end, they're making sure they're being looked after even after. But that's one thing I noticed with a lot of the couples, that it's usually the missus that's reaching out to get some support in there. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then so now if you look at which other areas are a challenge right now for you, other than trying to adopt a senior people signing on a continuous basis. Mm-hmm. That does not mean necessarily every month, but maybe every second month, or but start contributing to the funding of, say, 100 donations per month, even if they do a portion for some, right? To say,
even if it was $1 or $5,
anything that they can do towards that. Some people can afford $180. Other ones may say, well, I can do 20. Mm-hmm. I want to be donating, say, 20. That would be no problem. They can call you. They can then do it automatically, and they then are part of the program, right?
Absolutely. And if it's a business, I can't give much back besides a tax receipt, or I can give them I always offer, I'll do a plug on the Hell Yeah page, so they get some acknowledgement for their good work. But there's a lot of people in this town.
Is there a website, Nicole?
We do have a Prince George Council of Seniors website that lists all of our resources. We've got our newsletters. Is it
www what?
If you just type in Prince George Council of Seniors, it'll come up. But I think it's www.pgcos.ca. But don't quote me on that.
but there's a website available.
That's right. Yeah.
So very, very good. Yeah. So anything else that comes to mind if you think in terms of the challenges that you have in that area? You want to get more volunteers. And again, the volunteers can use the same phone number to phone.
That's right.
Right.
That's right. And, ideally we are trying to fill in more gaps of people that are interested in doing it more on a regular basis.
Right.
The reason is if I have to fill in 40 backup shifts a week, it's very time consuming for myself. And that means my clients aren't getting that time. And I really prefer to give the clients the time they need.
Right.
So a suggestion we have had a couple teams step up now that alternate days, like if it's a buddy system, and so it's really only twice a month, and so we've been testing that out with a couple people too, and it's worked well. So the first time they might go out and do it together, and then the next time they just pick, okay, we're going to alternate Wednesdays.
Yeah.
So it's only twice a month for them, and that's great. But I know not everybody has that time.
Yeah.
But I know that is a goal for us, because it would just be a lot less shifts we'd have to be contacting people to book, on a weekly basis.
Right.
So that is a big goal for us. And then, if we could get some funding, if anybody has any extra, like I said, even if it was $1, that would be wonderful. We can contact. We have another wait list of people waiting for funding for Adopt a Senior, where they've been sitting there for 3 months waiting, but I don't have any more funds to give. I have no more funds to be able to go there with.
Is there anything coming from government for this particular program?
We get some grant funds, but not towards an Adopt a Senior sort of thing. That's right. So it's a bit of a challenge, but we try to balance it out where if we have to scale one person back for a few months, that was getting an Adopt a Senior, even 5 days a week, I might have to say, hey, you know what? Do you mind if we go to 3 days a week? Because then I can call Joe over here and say, hey, I can at least give you 2 days a week, because we don't want people to be without.
Yeah.
But we are just at that point where we have a lot of need, and we just don't have the funds to cover it.
Have you got any examples of some of the ones that you said, well, this was, the one was a good example that you named earlier, is where because I remember there is always pride involved. That's with me when I was standing in front of the Salvation Army here in 1965 and was hungry and was too ashamed to go in. Not correctly. That should not happen, but I was. Are there any where people are reluctant about?
I'm glad you pointed that out, because I remember that from my dad. He was a man with a lot of pride.
Right.
And even if we were hurting, or we didn't ever say we were hurting,
no.
It was a prideful thing.
Yeah.
And so I've kind of carried a lot of the memories that I remember about dealing with him, and ways, he would get more anxiety as a senior. For example, if they have a bill and it's not paid that day, he would just not be right until it was paid, and balance the checkbook.
Typical, European in particular.
That's right, and so I get that part of it. So sometimes with my clients, and this is an example, you get to know them over the years.
Yeah.
And if I have a client that can afford, I'm going to throw a number out, 12 meals a month, and consistently, that's what they've ordered within their budget.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, for 2 months, I don't get an order.
Yeah.
Something's not right. Like maybe they went away and they forgot to tell me, but something's not right.
Yeah.
So I had reached out to this particular person and had asked, you have to be very gentle when you do it, because you're trying not to overstep your boundary.
No,
but
exactly.
you care and you want to know if you could do anything to help.
Yeah.
So you just start kind of asking questions. Is everything okay? Have you had any extra expenses come up? I've heard seniors, the prescriptions, because back during COVID, when they didn't have enough prescriptions, seniors had to refill every month.
Yeah.
And often they would get charged that dispensary fee on top of it.
Yeah.
Well, it might only be a few bucks.
Yeah.
That's huge to them.
Exactly.
So this one particular person I had noticed, and so I finally just phoned and I said, I don't mean to probe, but I just want to know if you're okay, because you haven't ordered anything.
Yeah.
And the client was absolutely, I'm so embarrassed, Nicole.
Yeah.
But I've had a power chair issue. I needed a new battery. Batteries are like $500. Well, that's a big hit for a senior on a pension.
Yeah.
So that's why that person hadn't ordered in months.
Yeah.
So right away, I'm like, okay, we're going to pick some meals out for you now.
Yeah.
You're not going to worry about this.
Yeah.
And actually, I took the order and then I said, I'm going to send your order back to you, and I want you to go through the menu again.
Yeah.
And I want you to pick what you want. If you want one meal a day, I want you to order that.
Yeah.
And I told them, I said, we have someone from the community that will sponsor you this month.
Yeah.
I have the best job in the world some days. It's like Santa. And they are in tears
Thankful.
every time,
Yeah.
beyond thankful. I've seen men cry, women cry.
Yeah.
And I love them all.
Yeah.
And we're there to support them, not just with meals. If they have a bad day, they call, and Nicole, I need to see you.
Yeah.
And that's a part of it. Like, they made that very clear when I started at the Council of Seniors. It's not just Meals on Wheels.
No.
You need to spend time. These are human beings, and they are often forgotten about.
Yeah.
So you need to be there, and you need to be a voice. If you see that they need a hospital bed or a toilet lift, you need to make those connections for them.
Yeah.
So we take a lot of pride in doing that.
Yeah.
And I've chased Red Cross equipment down for people that, terminal people. You should have a hospital bed in here.
Yeah.
We'll make those connections.
It takes a special you, much more than it looks like, but it goes far beyond that, so. Now, how do you look now at college height? Because it's something that you have mentioned to me 2 or 3 times already, is that what does it take to get that off the ground, other than, as you indicated earlier, is that you pretty much need a location then, because from proximity, it would take too long from here because of the distances.
That's right.
Yeah.
So we would need, the dream would be to find a kitchen up in College Heights.
Yeah.
And it's a big dream, but we would love to take it on. And so our dream is...
Would there be some there that, what do you think?
There's a couple kitchens up there, but the cost is high. And that's the issue.
Who owns them then? Is it privately owned then? Or?
Some are, and some are like, I know there was in College Heights, I believe their senior center has been looking at also trying to get Meals on Wheels off the ground there as well.
Right.
It's really hard when you don't have, because the cost of a commercial kitchen is a lot.
Yeah.
And that's what we need in order to run the program out of.
Yeah.
So, my contract is through Northern Health. That's where my position funding comes from.
Yeah.
So, we'd have to be able to work with them to say, hey, there's a need, and them to be able to have the funds to give us to say, here you go, find your kitchen. Yeah. And then, I would hopefully be able to coordinate both.
Yeah.
And
work with both together.
Work with both, yeah. We've recently hired an assistant where I'm at now, because we are trying to spread our wings, and we don't want to waste any more time.
No.
We know it needs to be done, and
the population is getting older, right?
It is, and there's no service like that in College Heights. And one thing a lot of people don't think about when they move or downsize is where their services are. Are you on a bus route? They don't look at, are you close to a hospital or a doctor's office or a pharmacy, things like that. And so, a lot of these people in College Heights, their houses are paid for, they've lived there for 40, 50 years. Yeah. And they don't want to just sell and move into downtown to be closer to services. That's a big ask, to go, hey, go for it.
Yeah.
So, unfortunately, they're doing a lot of skip the dishes, things like that, or ordering food, pizza, that kind of thing. So it's not nutritious, and it's costly.
Yeah.
So if we could get in there, we'd have to start with the kitchen first, and then we could build from there. And even if I think if I just even had 2 drivers to start, even if we had even 3 days a week, that was how we started, with North Nechako.
Yeah.
I would be happy with that, because at least they have an option 3 days a week.
Yeah.
So, that's our big dream, is to really to take care of all of Prince George. We know the Heart, like I said, has an excellent program there.
Right.
But that is an area of this town that hasn't had that service. And you think we've been running since 2000. So for 23 years, we've never managed to get anything off the ground in College Heights. We want to change that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And the market is there. You already know the need is there.
That's right.
So it just becomes a question of organizing something together with Northern Health, right?
That's right. And we have a newer executive director, and she's very driven to get this done.
And that's a good thing.
And that is a good thing. And at first I didn't think it would be possible. I said, I've been trying to get this off the ground for, since I've started.
Yeah.
And, I really think that she might be able to make some moves here and hopefully pull something off for us.
Now, before we finish, I want you to once more tell us, how do we will contribute from my company 10 supports $1,800. How do we get other people to donate whatever they can afford? Doesn't have to be 180, preferably, but not necessarily. Can be whatever they can afford, but there are numerous people that could help with $180. We like to see companies step up and match us in terms of donating for 10, and then stay aware of it, right? Yeah. And maybe even go down and watch. And what we will do in this podcast, we'll look at some videos of your facility. And I visited, and we took some videos of it, and they will become part of this podcast, and so that they can see what the facility looks like. And I would invite people to go down and see the service facility that you have there, and then even meet you, and and if they wish, and make it part of what we want to do.
That would be amazing, John. I mean, this is like, your kindness and your generosity is so overwhelming. The people you're going to be able to feed is truly just, I can't thank you enough. you know, I've been blessed with like I've had drivers even that have stepped up through Remax, for example, and Leah through Remax. She's trying to get me drivers from Remax, even if she tells them, you do 1 shift a month.
Yeah.
Just even 1 a month, you can do it.
Yeah.
And she's going after the real estate board to get us funds, whatever they can get.
Yeah.
And it's people like you and her and the individuals that are out in our community that if it's $1 or $100, whichever.
Yeah.
Each is just so appreciated.
We into this together.
Yeah, and I mean that like totally heartfelt. Yeah. I am blessed to do what I do, and you know, John, and all those weird jobs I've done along the way. I have told my children. I used to joke, you know, as they went through high school, my plan was when you're done graduating, then I'll go out and figure out what I'm doing.
Yeah, yeah.
And so my youngest son graduated last year.
Yeah.
And I've still kind of like, I love what I do and it's fulfilling. But we moved to this new place. I feel like we can really make a change. And I finally said, I'm bringing pictures to work. I bought a picture for my office.
Yeah.
I know where I'm supposed to be for the first time ever. And I think I found my purpose.
Be lucky to find you, you know.
Oh.
I'm going to get you, you know, so what I did is, now, as I talked to you a little bit earlier about, I wrote a book, Against All Odds, and it's an autobiography, and it's not about hurrah, hurrah, John. It's more in spite of, you know, with all the challenges.
Everything you had to go
Stay
through.
the course. It took me 80 years to live it, 20 years to think about it, 2 years to write it. And I'm going to get you a copy of it. Now, I don't know when I found it, I had my pen, and thank you. Oh, did you see it? It came flying out of the sky.
That's pretty awesome.
So I'm going to sign this for you, Nicole.
Thank you so much.
To Nicole. I'm putting a heart on it because that's how I feel about you. So.
Thank you, John.
And then you told me about your son.
I did. Oh.
And, you know, and what's his name?
Ori.
Ori, yeah, you told me that. R-O-Y.
Sorry without the S.
Okay, so.
O-R-R-Y.
O-R.
R-Y.
Y.
Oh, John, he's going to
All
be
the
so
best.
He'll be ecstatic. Thank
And
you.
I'm going to get him 2 copies as well of both books.
Oh.
So I'm going to shake your hand, and then I give you a big hug after we got this off, and when we stand up.
Okay.
Thank you for having you.
Thank you so much, John. It's been such a pleasure, and it's truly been an honor. You've touched my heart.
You touched mine too.
And thank you so much.
Okay. Thanks, Nicole.
He said, Nicole, I have to choose between food or living, and in order to live, I need this medication. If anyone could imagine having to choose between eating or a medication that will keep you living from day to day, it was a very hard talk with him about that. But in the end, I did convince him to take some donor-sponsored meals. But at the end of the day, he had so much pride, he just couldn't do it. He lasted a week with that way, and he said, Nicole, I can't do this, like other people need it, even though he needed it just as much. But it was definitely a pride thing with him. Meals on Wheels is for any person who needs help with meals. It's not just seniors themselves, but our program does dominantly focus with the seniors' nutritional needs. We have over 50 volunteers right now in the program, and we're always looking for more. We always have people that are taking time off for holidays, or maybe they have an upcoming surgery and need some recovery time, but we're always looking for more volunteers. And unfortunately, we can't really expand the program unless we have the drivers in order to do that. So if we don't have drivers, we can't get the meals out. So they are the key part of our program right now. And of course, our kitchen, we're blessed with them here at Brunswick Street. They cater to a lot of dietary needs that a lot of places perhaps wouldn't. So they have their work cut out for them here with 110 clients, all with different requests and needs. And there's about 14 or 15 people on the wait list right now. Unfortunately, a lot of the people on the wait list, by the time we contact them, have already passed away or have gone into care. That's how long it's taking for any turnover in our program. Once clients are getting into it, nobody's discontinuing. So that's the catch, right? We need more volunteers to expand the program to make more spots for the clients that are on the wait list.
You guys, holy, that was so powerful.
Good one.
Wow, holy, I'm sorry. I need to take a breath. That was like, oh.